It had been about the only thing she'd recognised on a list of beverages. They didn't have iced mocha latte in the coffee bar where she picked up her morning carton of steaming brown pale liquid that smelled mostly of its polystyrene container. She supposed this was what they called culture shock. She'd spent the morning on a whistle-stop sightseeing tour of the crucial highlights. None of her clients had ever sent her to San Francisco before, and she always liked to make the most of her trips at other people's expense. Her one regret was that she hadn't had time for Alcatraz. Now she was reading through her brief one last time, making sure there wasn't something important she'd failed to notice. But it was all as she remembered it. The photographs, well, snapshots really, directions to the target's home, suggested lines of approach, and the number to call when she'd achieved her mission. The woman swallowed the dregs of her coffee and headed back to her hired car, shivering as the damp air hit her. She was wearing only a light cotton shirt over the linen shorts she'd bought for last year's Greek island holiday. It had seemed an appropriate outfit for the warm sun that had beaten down on her earlier. It was California in July, after all. Now the weather had turned into English autumn, she was hopelessly underdressed. She wondered whether she had time to slip back to her hotel, but decided against it. 10 minutes out of the city, and she was as glad of her decision as she was of the car's air conditioning. The fog that had chilled her was so localised that 6 miles away, people were still sweating in the same heat that had engulfed her earlier in the day. But at least the air conditioning meant she was clear-headed enough to pay attention to the road signs, making sure she ended up heading down the coast on Highway 1. She drove cautiously, aware that a speed limit lower than the UK's would be easy for her to breach without realising. Attracting the attention of the highway patrol would definitely not be a good idea. The road curved across the peninsula past the vast suburban tract of Daly City, then swerved towards the ocean, the blue swell coming properly into view as she rolled down the hill and past the boxy condos of Pacifica. According to the map she had unfolded on the passenger seat, she was nearly halfway there. Once the map ran out, she had a hand-drawn map of her exact destination, courtesy of her client. She appreciated the need for the detailed map as soon as she turned off the highway into Half Moon Bay. She found herself in a grid of streets between highway and ocean, quiet residential streets where a strange car cruising slowly and making wrong turns would probably be noticed before too long. Following her directions, she turned onto a road fronting the Pacific. The houses were detached, 2 stories high, covered in either carefully tended white or pastel siding or natural wood protected from the climate by heavy coats of sealant. Several had verandas along the front that looked out across the calm ocean towards the eventual sunset. The houses looked like money. Not excessive, obscene, vulgar amounts, but substantial, 2 professional income levels. As she approached the house where her target lived, she was careful neither to speed up nor to slow down, but she slewed her eyes left as she passed and registered a battered black convertible in the drive. According to the client, that was the target's car. As expected, she wasn't home, but this wasn't an appropriate place. Too easy for her target to avoid what came next. The woman carried on to the end of the road and turned left onto the rough, unmetalled track that led across the few hundred yards of greenish-brown scrub that lay between the houses and the dunes that edged the beach. As she drew nearer, she could see what had looked like a gentle swell breaking on the sand in a white frothing surf. Where the track ended, there was a clear area and, as instructed, she parked her hire car there, a short distance from the 2 other vehicles already facing the pounding waves. She got out of the car and ignored the hard-packed path that led from the car park to the beach. Instead, the woman walked about 1/2 mile north across the scrub before she chose another route down to the beach. She didn't go all the way down, halting at a point where, if she hunkered down, she would be invisible both from the beach and the flat scrubland above. She settled behind an outcropping of gritty sandstone and surveyed the long sweep of the strand. She'd never seen so spectacular a beach that wasn't scarred with serried ranks of sun-loungers, parasols, cars and bars. The beach was wide and flat, sweeping round in a long white arc. From the air, it would look more like a crescent than a half moon,